Okay, and we are live.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Memphis Like Gas and Water Women in Energy Empowerment Series. I'm Gail Jones Carson, the Vice President of Community and External Affairs. Thank you for joining us for the 6th Women in Energy Empowerment webinar for 2022. The Women in Energy Empowerment Series was launched in 2019 as an in-person luncheon for MLGW Women in Management. The series is now virtual and features a woman leader in the utility and energy access and professional obstacles. The goal of this series remains the same: empower, uplift, and inspire. Today, our guest speaker is Hala Ballouz. She is the president and CEO of Electric Power Engineers, LLC. She is a registered professional engineer with expertise focused on power systems and energy market study. She has been a lead consultant in the electric power industry since 1991. She is also the founder of ENER-i.AI, Inc., a firm focused on innovation on software and consulting for modernizing and digitization of electric utility grids. President Ballouz has also been an advisor nationally and internationally on integration of renewables and smart grid development. She is an innovator in the holistic study of planning and operation of transmission and distribution, and integration of generation, load, distributed resources, and new technologies, including applications of DERMS and advanced power management systems. President Ballouz has also founded GridNext, while president of the Texas Renewables Energy Association, and established the first of a kind series of conferences focusing on grid modernization to further the integration of renewables. She is currently leading the innovative development of integrating smart grids into T&D planning and operation through innovation, software development, and applications. With her vision, she set a founding cornerstone at Texas A&M's Smart Grid Center to integrate ENER-i.AI distribution, system analysis, analytics, and DER platform to fuel innovation in holistic electrical grid planning. President Ballouz is recognized as a leader in power systems as well as in empowering women in the energy industry. Through an excellent team of power systems engineers, her companies are on an exceptional path of growth. Hala Ballouz was also the president of the 2020 Women in Power Award. And congratulations on that. President and CEO Hala Ballouz holds a Bachelor of Science and a Master's of Science degree in electrical engineering. Thank you so very much for being with us today. So we are ready for your presentation, and I am so very proud of your accomplishments and looking forward to hearing your presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. You can see the big smile on my face. I don't have the dimples that other people have here on this panel. I wish I did, so you can see my excitement, but it's ear to ear. It is nothing pleases me more than being able to speak and inspire people, all people in the world, but in particular, of course, women, as we rise to make an impact around us and for the people that we love and for the environment that we love. I will go through the few slides in terms of focusing on points of what I think matters, but that's my personal view. Everybody has different paths and can be a leader in their own way or an individual contributor in their own way. It doesn't have to resemble my path, but I'll speak about my experience and what I think really enabled me to travel the path I did and timed correctly. Maybe we'll have a little time at the end, because I heard from the panel here that it would be nice to talk a little bit about my journey, the story. Everybody loves stories, so I will talk about that story a little bit. Sitting here today, we want to talk about the confidence and advancement strategies for women in the energy industry. Why women? I always ask myself, aren't we the same? We just go do it. This is how I did it myself. I didn't think whether I was a woman or not a woman. Well, we all know it's difficult. When I go back in the past and look at my journey, I know how much resistance there was, direct and indirect, for my path, and it would have been easier if I was a typical profile that is more of the male that the industry, the energy industry is used to, but I did it anyway. Let's talk about that. So currently, I am the president of Electric Power Engineers, as well as ENER-i.AI. ENER-i.AI is a software company that I spun out of Electric Power Engineers. Last year, we got a great investor in Electric Power Engineers. That's the first time for me, like many other things. And in that context, they're going to help us grow these two businesses further beyond what I've grew them into by some mergers and acquisitions, and growing to fulfill a mission that I have. I have personally bought Electric Power Engineers, which I was employed at in 2007, 8. Started 2007, was fully the owner 2008. It was at that time 5 people, and I grew it to 120 people along the way. When I acquired it, I was living overseas, working remote. I moved over here, raised teenagers who their transition from overseas to here wasn't easy as anybody imagine who has children, until they graduated in 2015. In 2015, I embarked on a journey to fulfill my mission and vision for what I want to do and help the industry with. Next slide, please. All right, that's what I believe is very important. There's nothing you cannot do if you put your mind to it. And what I say is nurture what nature gave us. Nature gave us a lot of heart, a lot of mind, a lot of courage, a lot of abilities. The only thing we really need, and that was instilled in me from childhood throughout. I sought it, I clung to it. When I heard anybody see it, look out there, you will find a lot of encouragement. And there's nothing you cannot do. And literally there's the impossible. I was sitting with my kids around the dining table last night. They're visiting me, and we were just talking about that. What is impossible? Just very, very highly improbable, right? That's really what it is. Otherwise, everything is possible. I think if we think this way, we will excel no matter who we are and what we are. And of course, provided we surround ourselves with good people. Next slide, please. Put to use what you learn. Not all the time we can plan our future. Hindsight is 2020. At the same time, I believe that one of the things that we can do is, as we learn what we learn, whether it's in college, whether it's in a job we're doing, a certification we're getting, there is a reason why we were doing it. Hopefully we got attracted to it somehow. For me, I go back today, after so many years. That was 1992. My master's thesis was really not exactly my choice. I didn't frame it. It was a professor. I was sitting in the class. He liked me. He said, would you do a thesis to study the benefits of batteries on the grid and the economic and reliability benefits? It was intriguing. I knew nothing about that. I had no idea what he's asking me to do. It was intriguing, and I got drawn into it. It was what it is. Now, why I consider that a pivotal point in my life, although it didn't come till much later, because that embarking on that and wanting to learn it, put it to use. I wanted to understand why we're studying this. And it opened my mind about the connectivity of our electric grid. How is it that we can control the energy and smooth it and make it peak less and impact the infrastructure less, and how reliability and economics interact with each other? It planted in my mind a seed to be able to build the business that I have today, because I knew and understood the interconnectedness of all of this. And I think if we treat everything we do that way, and we instill it in the story we do and make a story out of it, we will shine and we will be beyond what everybody else who's, what I tell my employees, don't do things like homework. Ask why. Why are we doing this? And how does it get connected to everything else? How does it impact the people, the environment, everything around you? That's very important. Everything we do will come to use one day. So think of it this way. Next. Okay. So that in itself, what I just spoke about, is also turns out to be my passion throughout today, which is engineering the energy transition. In the path coming here, I did have a vision. It materialized more in around 2010. However, I think each one of us, somehow there is a vision, there's a mission, although we don't see it, we're doing it, whether it's in our lives at home, whether among the people we live with, or in the environment at work. For me, I wanted to solve the complex problem of energy. I felt that it's becoming more and more complex from the day I got introduced to how intricate it is to optimize this system. To me, it was my duty as an employee first, later as a business owner, to look out and see what is the next thing that is going to make it difficult for the utilities to solve the problem. I took it to heart to think about the engineer or the customer service person or the IT or the legal, and thinking, how are they going to be able to deliver the same quality they were in the past when it became so complex? So I had a vision that there is that need, and I had a mission to make that happen. That made my job exciting, my company exciting for everybody else. Again, being involved in the end-to-end story is very, very important. And how do you do that? You start from early on, immersing yourself in learning a little bit more, not just what you're doing, a little bit more about. I'm looking at Linda here. I have one person audience here. You look at things. I wanted to learn, how is the billing works? What is this data that I'm working with as an engineer? Where does it come from? How does it work? I had curiosity. It's very important, because then you can start feeling the heartbeat of what you're trying to solve. Next. Next slide. All right. So this is, I won't dwell on that, but I want to show you the visualization of what I had to learn about in order to continue to excel and rise and build this business that, yes, it's not the largest engineering consulting firm, but we've got 120 solid electrical power systems engineers. The reason why we have an amazing reputation, we're sought after, we compete with some of the largest firms, is because our way to solve things is holistic. Our engineers, we teach them every piece of it. So if you look here, we started super early. I drove this company in 2000 when I was an employee, and then 2008 when I bought the company, I said renewables are happening. Why? It just made sense. It's just sustainable energy coming from wind and solar. Started early, and what I did is built my knowledge in pieces and parts. Still to today, I can converse about storage, about wind, solar, gas, flexible loads, distributed energy resources, grid edge, all across, from the generation up at the scale of the nuclear power plants and the gas plants, renewables, all the way to grid edge, the thermostats inside the home, the batteries that we will install, the electric vehicles. And what we do is solve it all this way. I became sought after as an advisor to our clients, and also as a leader to the employees who love to feel the passion that I have and the understanding of the connectivity of everything. But that doesn't come overnight. You've got to insert yourself. You've got to learn and look out, have that curiosity all the time. Don't say no when somebody asks you for something that's slightly different than, or significantly different than what you think your job description is. It's a gift most of the time when they ask you to do something different. So one of the first things, we'll go to the next slide. One of the first things I did outside my the box of what I was hired for was software. Once actually it was 2001, and we'll talk about that in a journey. So recommendations. It's very, very important to listen. Listen, you go to conferences, you listen, learn, and I'll speak about each one of those separately. Be a mentor or seek mentorship. These are very important. Grow your credentials and keep your curiosity. And particularly as a woman, remember you belong in the room, whichever room you are, you own the room, and keep learning. So let's go to each one of those. Next slide. Go out, go to conferences. Look, I didn't know these things. I didn't well, I did have my previous boss, the one who I bought the company from, pushed me out, which was really great. In a way, he was a mentor. I never thought he was a mentor, but I did have one, but I did not know the value of it. If I did, I would have interacted more that way. I was raw, let's call it raw. I was just engineer coming out of school. I can do anything, and that's helped me a lot. But if I go back and I say, go out, go to conferences, learn, listen. When you go listen to the people speaking everything they're talking about. They're talking about politics, economy, it all impacts you. And then learn from what they're saying. And when you listen, you will make meaningful connections. People love to know you're listening and you understand what their thing is. Don't go out just telling everybody what they need to do. Listen to them, because that's what your job is to listen and solve problems. Learn and grow with every event, every conference, every meeting at work and outside. Next. Well, my kids say I don't listen though, so if they were hearing me now, they'll say I'm a hypocrite, but I listen as much as possible, but practice that. Mentorship is very, very important. Again, if I go back, I would have done a lot more than that. I was of the old generation that said there's nothing I cannot do, right? That's so wrong. You need a village around you. I did learn over time. You need to find a mentor. And a mentor is someone that's not necessarily telling you what to do. They're just inspiring you. They're just telling you, great. I have my niece who has her own business. That's one of the things she loves. I listen. She calls me. She says, oh my God, I hired my first employee. I don't think she's going to work out. What am I going to do? And I just talk to her. I just talk to her. And that's what you need. You need someone who can listen, who's been through that, to tell you it's okay and to give you that nudge forward. Be a mentor when you're ready. That's so valuable. Find someone. It doesn't have to be another woman. It's nice if it is a man. We have a very important role as women in every possible way. I found that women are extremely nurturing. My company, when people come and learn how we work, they say, wow, we've never encountered a company with such a culture. We can create incredible culture by nurture. And actually, just to mention to you, not intentionally, but that's what happened in my company. My COO, my executive VP of engineering operations, they're both women. When we're in the room in the company, everybody knows it's a force to reckon with, because we know what we're doing and we care about what we're doing. Next. Be confident about your abilities. you need to know, don't be scared. That's something I did. I did not calculate too much. If somebody asked me to do something, or I felt there is a need, if there is a need and you can make a decision to do it, you will, sorry, I misspelled the word. I wrote this last, the world collaborates to make it happen. When you make a decision, the world collaborates to make it happen. It's incredible. Just try that once. The moment you say, well, I'm moving to this other department, or I am going to take on, I'm going to go to my boss and tell them that I want to do this because I think it's helpful. Suddenly you look around and you find everybody is actually asking for it. You just weren't listening. And so make that decision and don't be afraid. Don't worry about how much work. Don't worry about how long it will take, because you feel it. Listen to your gut feeling. If it tells you you want it, go after it. Don't hesitate. Hesitation is a thing that will set you back. Just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work. You know how much you will learn if it doesn't work? More than you would if you didn't do it. Just do it. Next. You belong in the room. You know, that's one thing I've experienced. And if I go back, even, you know, in the older days, it was harder. Like I've had people who tell me, do you know what a substation is? You know, as sarcastically as it can get, just because I'm a woman, or who I will sit in the room and start quizzing me with technical questions. You know what? Be strong, be there, smile back. The way I have engaged in my past, I'll say, you know, did you have your fill of quizzing me? And you know what? It breaks the ice. It puts them in their spot, and their respect for you goes up high. You can own the room. Don't let others make you feel, just because you're young or you're a woman or you're whatever you are, that somehow you are just a small corner, or you have a piece. You own it. You love it. Just speak up, say it, make yourself heard, and feel like you own the room. Sit up straight and just look at everybody and say, I am who I am, and I know what I'm doing, and I want to be heard, and let everybody hear you. Take the first step. Don't be afraid. Do not worry about whether somebody will put you down. That's okay. That's all right. This is a learning curve for you. So be yourself, own the room is very, very important. In meetings, you need to be heard. You cannot just sit and not be noticed. If you care to make a difference and make a change and grow in leadership positions. Next. The keep learning is very, very important. You cannot stop learning. Today, there is a lot more that I don't know about than I did 20 years ago, just because I keep opening my mind further and further. Innovation is incredible in the utility and energy industry. I mean, you know, I don't need to preach. It's on the news every day. Digital information, digital transformation. There are so many things out there that we can do. Open your mind, be innovative. If you think of something, don't say, why didn't anybody else think about it? They should have, so I'm just not going to do it. I regret having done that a couple of times. There was a day where I literally went and looked at myself in the mirror, and I said, next time I think it's innovative and important to help the utilities and the industry to do this thing. I promised myself, I said, I am not backing off, no matter what the world tells me, because if I know it's right and it's innovative, I'm going to do it. Just keep that open mind, look at the opportunities to change the way things are done, even if it's this much. That's when you will enjoy your job, and then when your job loves you. Next. I want to thank you all, and I want to talk a little bit here. I want to open room for any questions, or for Gail to let me know what she likes me to do. Otherwise, I can speak a little bit about my journey, which is a little interesting in how I applied some of these pieces.
I'd like to hear about your journey.
All right, very good. Let's start here. So I grew up in Lebanon, which is a very small country in the Middle East. I loved nature a lot, and I loved engineering somehow, and math, and all of these subjects that took me the journey of engineering. So I chose electrical engineering because back in the days in that part of the world, one of my teachers in school told me it's too difficult for a woman. And I said, thank you for guiding me. Now I know what I want to do. It's going to be electrical engineering. I did study in Lebanon, then I moved due to circumstances in the Middle East. I moved my third year of engineering to Texas and applied to a couple of schools there. And I ended up at Texas A&M, where I finished my bachelor's, then my master's degree over there. As a child, I grew up with great encouragement from amazing parents. Again, that thing about there's nothing you cannot do. If you want to, you can pick this, you can pluck the stars out of the skies as a child. I remember that. The journey of studying, I loved what I was studying. Yes, not all the time, but I loved the electricity and the flow of it all and how it works. Then my master's degree really helped me understand it a whole lot more. The reason I worked for the company I purchased later was very circumstantial. It was the only power systems company in the college town that I was in, and I needed to stay there next to my boyfriend then, who said you should stay next to me. So I chose this small company called Electric Power Engineers. It was a one-man show, and I took an appointment and I said, I want to talk to the president. I talked to Charles Freeman and I said, hire me. He wasn't looking. I said, hire me. My name is Hala Ballouz, and I am, well, it wasn't Hala Ballouz then, Hala Nasser. I said, I am a great electrical engineer. I'm strong. I can help you. He said, no. I went back and I, almost took an offer in with EPRI, actually, in California. People say, why didn't you go there? But life is life. You travel you go the river that it takes you. So he calls me, he says, Hala, what the heck? I'm gonna hire you. Charles Freeman did. So we were happy, my boyfriend and I went and worked for this one man, and it was the best experience ever. I learned invoicing, I learned fixing printers, I learned drafting, I learned how to go to rural America and work with the co-ops and help them with their billing and with their staking and with their field work. That's how I got surrounded by a lot of amazing experience in every possible way. And the first time I did something that allowed me to own a small percent in the company is my boss wanted to build software for distribution system analysis, and he hired somebody, and that somebody quit as a contractor, and I saw how sad he was, and I was very curious about that software. He didn't involve me in it a lot. So I said, I will do it. He said, you don't know software. I said, no, I will learn. He shook his head. He knew me by then. There's nothing I wouldn't do. He said, but you can't do that because you've got to do your other work. I need you to finish your other work. I said, okay, I will do it in my spare time if you give me 5% of that company. So he said, deal. We shook hands. I went, he didn't know what I was doing. He thought I was bluffing. 4 months later, I came back with a package. We sold it to 10 utilities, and it was the best thing in my life. And here I am all over again. About 6 years ago, we started building software again because the time is ready for it. So if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't understand anything about software. But now I can guide people. I started a business that allows people to do things. When I speak to them, they are inspired because I know something about it. Then that later on, then I went to work remote in Lebanon due to personal needs, as a family needs over there. When I resigned, I remember Charles Freeman said, no, you can't resign, you're going to work remote. I worked remote when email was barely starting. I worked remote for 10 years, grew the business there. I had to hire somebody out of my own salary because my boss didn't think it's possible to hire anybody else than me. Then I grew that office to, after getting his blessing later, to 4 people before And this office in the US still was only 2 people. Now, again, my boss was an amazing person, but it was a lifestyle company. He didn't like to have large businesses. So at that time, I said I will buy the business, and I moved my kids over, chose Austin to be the headquarters of the business, and then the journey began. At that time, I had evolved the business to do a lot of work on renewables and wind and solar back then, and so the journey then began, and I started working with people, trying to understand. I never worked with a corporate company, so I worked with some good colleagues and friends. We formed a nucleus. They helped me understand how I can build a structure that can grow units of engineers and units of executives. And it started in about 2010 when I started doing that. And here I am after a lot of heartache and pain, the proud owner, growing amazing businesses that I hope will be cornerstones in keeping the lights on. So thank you for listening to my journey. There's a lot in between that is very spicy and exciting, but I don't think we have enough time.
Okay, so we don't have time. So I do see that we have one question right now. Will you speak on the difference of your experiences as a woman working in the many countries and cultures you have worked in, Lebanon, Turkey, Morocco, and others, in comparison to working here in the United States, where the obstacles are different, or the obstacles different or the same?
Yeah, I like this question. Okay, first, can I talk about what's common? What's common is I needed every single time to make sure people understood that I know what I'm talking about. And that was very important in every context. That I encourage you to be very confident about the audience. So I had to, whether it's in the US, in a room full of utility engineers who are men who are not used to a woman speaking, or I am in Jordan or Morocco trying to speak, I had to explain, I had to come that extra mile and understand their discomfort and give it to them, and in return show them how good I am. That is very, very important. Now, different countries are different. I couldn't imagine myself in Lebanon being able to do as much as I was able to do here in the US. It's just a little harder. The government structure and the politics also make it more difficult, not just the women, although there's a lot of great women doing great things over there. Actually, my executive VP of engineering, I brought her from that office, very powerful women, but there isn't a whole lot of opportunity. In Jordan, in Turkey, people, are looking for someone who cares. I don't know if it's a lot different. I didn't grow a business in those countries. I grew an office in Lebanon, but that's mainly engineers working. I think the US allows people, not just women, to excel because the environment is excellent. The challenges are very similar. You can overcome the barriers the same way wherever you are. Hope that helps.
Yeah, can you see my questions? I'm saying we have several questions that send directly to you. Can you see them?
Yes, I see them.
Okay, can I ask something before Gail goes over the question?
Okay.
Because first of all, when we read your bio, Tamara and Lillian are on here, and I said that I'm exhausted by reading your bio, and we were gonna ask. I'm not sure either one of them gonna ask where you even get your energy from, because I'm just getting comments on text message about like, you're a boss. So, and you're doing a great work. And there was a couple of takeaways and things that I thought that you said that was really profound. And my twin sister's on here. It's so funny because she literally wrote down the same thing I wrote down. So I texted her, I was like, you're such my twin, because I wrote down the same thing. But
they are identical twins.
Her camera's not on. Her camera's not on, but her name's on here. She said, you better not have my camera on. I'm like, it's not on. You can't. But I think the thing when you said, pretty much when somebody asks you to do something, look at it as a blessing to get it done. Because a lot of times you're given, people are given tasks and you become so frustrated if it's outside of your scope of work and they look at it like you just asking for the most or you're
Yes.
pushing them to do the most. But the fact that you look at it as, I don't think you said a blessing. I forgot what you said.
It's a blessing because it's opening your mind. Like when my boss asked me to see why the paper is stuck in the printer when I just got my master's degree, right? I was like, well, great. That cultivated my technical mind and I can do plumbing now if you want.
Yeah, that's just a great way to look at it. And there was another thing that you said that listen, if you listen, you will make meaningful connections. Because a lot of times we just listen to respond instead of actually just taking the time to listen to what someone is saying. Not listen to go like this, okay, I got a point. Okay, I gotta say something else, just actually listening to somebody.
Okay.
So I love that. There's some other things, but Gail gonna go over the questions. But yes, I mean, you have a lot of good nuggets that you share with us. So hopefully they're paying attention. So it's really good.
Thank you. Thank you. And the energy comes from loving those around you.
Yeah.
And wanting to make a difference.
Yeah, you said some profound. People just want people that care. So it's just the small things that make a difference. So I'm gonna mute myself because I'll keep talking. So go ahead, Gail.
All right.
Copy, Angelica. Okay, so one of the questions we have is, what does your annual training budget look like at your company? And what are some conferences you recommend for the women in our field, in the energy and engineering, energy and utility industry?
Right. Was that the budget? Asking about the
But
budget?
yeah, it's two questions. One is about training budget, and the other is what conferences would you recommend for women in energy and the utility industry?
Yes. So we do have a stipend. Like it varies every year. We change the policy, but let's say maybe it's 5K a person that they can use freely to attend conferences, to go to training, to do whatever they like to do, and we encourage them and their superiors or their sorry for that word, their supervisors give them a direction, they give them ideas of where to go, and then they fulfill that. I have to admit, not all of the time they do, so we keep pushing. Sometimes we all just get in the rut of just doing what we're doing. And conferences, I think it depends what you're doing, right? But in the energy industry, I like but I'm in engineering, but the IEEE puts now a lot, it used to be only technical, but there's a lot about solar integration, about transmission distribution integration. So the IEEE conferences, if you watch out for them, there's a bit of everything, or changing business models for utilities. The Distributech just happened recently, comes to mind. It's nice. And what I recommend for people to do, if that's something new they're starting to do, go to the conferences that bring in a lot of things. Like Distributech these days has a lot of everything: distribution, transmission, hardware. Go out and not only go to the sessions, but walk the exhibits and just see what all it takes to actually do what we're doing here today. Opens your mind.
Okay, so how did you come to owning your company? Was it situational or was it on purpose?
It was a mix. I always knew that's the thing, that company, I love it. I was already running it. Really, I was the VP, but the existing president then was kind of laid back, and I was running and guiding it. I wasn't in a hurry because I'm not one that thinks about money so much and like owning and everything. I was doing what I was doing exactly like I did after I bought it. He did get ill, and it was too difficult for him to run the business, and he asked me, and he told me, I think it's time that you took it over, and I did. So there was a circumstance that a very difficult one. It was heartbreaking for me to do that through that, but such is life. It works this way.
Okay, so you said that's how you know to love your job and your job loves you. what are signs that it's time to walk away?
Sorry, what, the last question?
What are signs that is, you can love your job or you love your job. At what point, if you get to a point, are signs that say it's time to walk away?
Yeah, good. What a difficult question for someone who doesn't give up.
Or give up, or you love your job so much.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just so persistent that I will change my job and make it work first. If you can't change the parameters of your job and make it work, then signs, if you can't, every day for months on end, you can't get up in the morning, you're not motivated, you don't feel valued, you don't feel that you're making a difference, definitely it's time to go.
What's the turnover rate at your company?
It's very small. Like our retention rate is like 97, 96, 97%.
So even with the pandemic, you didn't have, you weren't impacted greatly by turnover?
No, we take care of our people. We have a culture of family and teamwork. I had a poll with my people. I was asking them, what is EPE and ENER-i good at? And I meant technically, and the first number one answer was teamwork and family. It goes a long way.
Love it.
So with it being a technical company, an engineering company, do you have a lot of women who work there?
Not enough. And actually in our Beirut office, I have like 40% women, and over here I have a lot less. And I've yet to learn why, and I wish I can have more. We're actively working, we're hiring all the time women, but I don't see the same interest from women in engineering as I do overseas.
Well, you talked about mentoring earlier. So do you reach out and do you mentor and try to bring others along? As you said, that there's an importance of being a mentor.
Yes, I'm not doing as much lately, I have to admit, but when my kids were in school and early years of college, I would go speak there and help. It was easier to get engaged. I did, and their family, friends, extended friends, their children. I think you've got to start with children. In my mind, later is good in empowering and women who are already there, but you have to start really early and get them excited about it. And I want to say, you asked me about conferences and things. This is the time to empower women, and I do think the energy industry is providing a lot of opportunity that women needs to come see what they can do, because it's no longer just, it used to be boring for a lot of people. It's like it generate the power, transmit it over those lines that nobody likes how they look, and deliver it other side. Now there's a lot to do, a lot of excitement. I think it's our job to get these young women to understand how exciting it is.
Okay, so what is your company doing to keep morale and retention at your company? And do you feel like it's harder to lead during COVID?
I don't like it. I have to be honest with you. I don't like not seeing my people all the time. I love seeing them. For me, they inspire me. So I always think it should be the other way around. It is not easy. So we do more happy hours, not just virtual. Now, thankfully, we can bring them in. We bring food. We all sit outside. We play games. We're thinking even about changing we're working on changing the layout, making our one area only for people to come and mingle, so that when they come here, they see that they're having lunches together. So we're doing everything we can to bring value. And if you can give me advice, I'd love that. We all need to talk about it. Want them to be more invested in feeling good about coming here. And there's a variety of people. Some come to the office every day. Others want to come a hybrid, and some others who rarely want to come. And it's an individual preference. But if it comes to me, I would not force people to come, but I would do my best to get them to see that over here, when you see people, you will grow more, actually, because you're able to watch others to watch me, see what I'm doing. You know, I used to have employees who would say, I want to be like this, like our executive vice president of business development. So you get to have role models and more mentors if you come in person.
So you have about 123 employees, someone
Yes.
had asked. Yes. And so in addition to the trying to bring them back into the office through a socialization kind of way, are there other ways that you keep morale high?
You know, meetings and speaking and sharing knowledge, we do a lot of that. So inside the teams, and so me and my executive and senior leadership team, they meet with me, we interchange, we know what's going on. So staying in the loop and knowing what everybody else is doing, I think is very helpful. Staying connected about what the company is doing and what's it about, so they're not siloed and feeling all alone.
So this is another question. As someone who has worked remote, was technology evolved to what it is now? Or what are your remote work strategies for structured days, communications, and overall productivity? And how do you see remote work shaping their professional culture?
It's a lot of things in one question.
I know.
Yes. So we have metrics for productivity. So as long as they meet them, there is flexibility. They are expected to be working 8:30 to 5:30, but there's still a lot of flexibility if they can't, but they have to be there for each other. So that's very important. We can't just have everyone working different hours because there is teamwork involved. So we do require them to work relatively the same hours. They're always available. We're all available for each other. I turn on my video all the time. I don't make people turn them on, but I do that. So we teach by example.
So you really only have a few people who really work remote 100%?
No, we have more than 50% working remote.
Okay.
More than 50%. I'm not telling you it's not a challenge. It's a lot of work on each, and it's not me. It's really the people, my people. It's the supervisors who are working, each one with their own unit. You know, I say that and it scares some people. I say everybody is an owner of their unit or their business or their model, and it's their pride and ownership to keep their people around them.
What are they afraid of? You say they're afraid. What are they afraid of?
Who?
Of the ownership. You said the ownership.
No, I'm laughing because I said that once to some people who work in finance, and it's like, oh, everybody's an owner of your business. I said, well, you know, whether it's direct or indirect, yes, you're an owner when you have an ownership of what you decide on and what you do. So we leave it to the people to drive their own teams and work with them. I think if you're looking of why it's successful, it's really giving ownership to the people to lead their own people and keep them tight together and connected and meaningful. People are looking for meaning. They're not just looking for a job.
Okay, and so I have, okay. You said speak up, but what do you do if you speak up and you are continuously not heard?
Oh gosh, okay, continuously, let me see, speak up, continuously not heard. I would maybe change the people I'm speaking to. I would ask why, and maybe later I'll quit my job after you ask me, when do you leave? I mean, if you only have one channel, you have no way around it, but I think there is many ways, and doesn't mean you have to go to the supervisor of a supervisor. You go to your colleague, you work together, you talk to the person, you just say, why, you know, why is this? And then you learn, maybe what you are talking about is being presented in a context that doesn't make sense. Sometimes you want to understand what makes sense to the person you're trying to make a difference with. Maybe they're business minded more than technical, maybe they're technical, maybe they have an inherent fear of what you're proposing, and so you need to be politically smart about how you do that. But if the environment is such that, you know, you've got people who really don't want anybody to rise, then it's time to change and move over somewhere else.
Well, and then you also have a situation for some who people don't like for them to speak up. Some leadership wants everyone to be on the same page or to agree with everything they say, which is somewhat of a challenge.
You need to change those leaders.
We need to change. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, because I believe that diversity of opinion and should always intervene, and that people should want folks around them that's going to be honest with them.
Yes, I'd say mentor the leaders to understand, look, it's good as a leader to have something like this is it, we want to do this, but it should be on a high level, and you need to teach the leaders to keep room for everybody to solve the puzzle their way, even if it's ineffective at the end, it is more effective. But yes, there is some leadership necessary in saying this is our goal, this is our mission, this is what we would like to do, but you can't micromanage and let subdue people's creativity. They become unhappy.
So you sound like you are open to constructive criticism and others not necessarily agreeing with everything that you say.
That's right, a bit too much, maybe sometimes. That's okay. Makes me who I am.
Well, I'm sure your team appreciates that leadership. So, Angelica, do we have any other questions? I see something else regarding remote, but I think we beat that one to death.
Yes.
Oh, that's the only question. I one thing, I'm leaving empowered, okay? And I almost stood up and snapped my fingers in a couple of sessions. And I feel empowered and feel like I have tools to become a better leader.
Yes.
And overall professional and woman, and just, yeah, you're
So,
amazing.
so everybody, tomorrow when you wake up, just think about what is one little change that I would make small that would make me happier and make everybody around me happier. Just do it.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm gonna do that today at 2 o'clock. I'm gonna give myself 8 minutes. Because we always looking at the world to change, but if everybody just change their little part and take responsibility for their little part, it'd just be a better.
It would be a wonderful world.
Not tomorrow, today.
Absolutely.
Today.
Thank you.
So you provided us with a lot of wisdom and valuable feedback and information today. What would you leave with our audience today? What are some tips or suggestions, guidance, direction that you would leave with our audience?
I would say the world as we wake up every day, don't listen to social media too much and all the media, but still the world is in a difficult time. And just like you said, like you all said, it's our responsibility to make small differences in this world, whether it's the environment, whether it is the financial burden of living and all of that. Think of small ways as communities that we can do together to make things better for us, for those who we love, and for the future of our children. I think we all can change the direction of how this world is going, and each of us, the force of all of us caring, nothing can stand in that way. So we all need to care. I say start with your own community, and then you will find that it propagates to finding things you can do in your job that support that.
So I want to thank you so much, Hala Ballouz. I finally got it right, Ballouz.
Yes.
She is the president and CEO of Electric Power Engineers LLC, and founder of ENER-i.AI. Thank you so much for being with us today.
All right. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
All righty. All righty.
Bye-bye.